This has been a momentous time for all of us. For the first time in 3 months, we've been able to return to Shul.
For the first time in so many weeks, we've been able to hear Kaddish, Baruch Hu, Kedusha, Chazar Sashatz, Kriyas HaTorah.
It's so incredibly sweet to return to Tefillah B'tzibor. It's something that we truly, truly should cherish.
However, even with this moment's renewed spirit toward Tefillah, we are still far from whole. The majority of our community is not out yet. Half of our community, the women, are unable to participate in most of these more limited minyanim.
Unfortunately, many of the elderly and those with underlying health problems are not yet part of the minyanim.
As we resume services this week, slowly and cautiously, people who are frightened, people who are obese, people who are immune compromised, or who have any other medical hesitation should continue to pray at home until they get permission from their physician to join the services.
For those privileged to pray together, the euphoria that we currently feel naturally will fade, returning us to our pre-COVID routines.
It is because of this that we are coming together to deliver a shared message.
As we return to our shuls this Shabbos, let us do so with a greater sense of sensitivity, kindness, and compassion. As we learn in Tehillim, Olam Chesed Yiboneh, our community can rebuild with compassion.
We cannot leave this experience the same human beings that we were as when we entered it.
Now is the time that we need to adopt something in our lives and make a difference.
We're making some specific recommendations for ourselves and for our communities. We have 3 basic recommendations.
For the past 3 months, our shuls have been very quiet on Shabbos. In fact, they've been eerily quiet every Shabbos. The silence has almost been deafening. This Shabbos will be our first partial return.
Let us ensure that they are full of the voice of Torah and of Tefillah.
But let's ensure that we take our silence with us. Let's ensure that the precious moments of Torah and Tefillah go uninterrupted by mundane conversation. We're starting again. Let's do it right.
We have all been isolated and alone, badad, for the last 3 months. The Torah tells us that a mitzorah sits alone, badad, when afflicted with saras.
Our rabbis tell us that this period of being alone is to cause the person to reflect on what being part of the community is all about. This Shabbos, we have a unique opportunity to come together once again as a renewed tzibur, appreciating and valuing each and every member of our precious community.
We didn't go into this lockdown for the sole purpose of protecting ourselves. We went into this lockdown because we also wanted to protect our friends, neighbors, and entire community. As we go back into our shuls, let's try to keep that spirit alive and sacrifice for the physical and spiritual needs of our friends in the Beis HaKnesses.
We can also learn another lesson from the Torah about plagues. We are told of a plague that occurred in Parshas Korach.
What ended that plague was when Eliezer HaKohen brought the Keteris. There's a power in the Keteris, as the Gemara says in Shabbos Daf Pei Tes Amud Aleph, that the Malach HaMoves revealed to Moshe Rabbeinu, Af Malach HaMoves Mosalei Dovar, and he told him that there's a very big secret, and the secret is to say Pitum HaKteris, to say the Keteris every single day in order to ward off the Magefa. So I think it would be a very nice thing, a very simple thing for everyone to take on, to say Keteris every single day.
That is the easy part. What caused that plague was machlokas, infighting. This is the most difficult recommendation of all.
We need to look deep down inside ourselves and see perhaps if there might be a grudge that we never let go of. Now, we all have arguments that we hold on to, and many for good reason.
Now is the time to choose just one and let go. Now is the time to pick up the phone and make that reconnection.
And now is the time to bridge that divide.
Evra, this is an opportunity to bond together more than we ever have done before. Let's do this.
So 3 lessons and recommendations. Number 1, as we return to our shuls, let's bring with us the silence. Let's bring with us that respect and that dignity to our places of worship, to our shuls. Number 2, remembering the lessons of bidud, of being alone, and the idea of sacrifice necessary for the community as we return to that community. And number 3, the notion of machlokes as it's connected to magaifa, as it's connected to plagues. Let's use this as a moment to leave behind one little element of our pekel, leave behind one element, something in our lives where we've been holding a grudge, a vendetta, some difficult relationship. Let's fix that now as we return to our community.
Are we to remain unchanged, unmoved after this all? We owe it to ourselves and we owe it to each other to be better people emerging from this crisis than we were before.
We hope that this feeling of excitement in coming back to our Batei Knesset and Batei Midrashot will linger on. This flame will continue to burn in our hearts in the excitement of Avodat Hashem, of learning Torah, so that we can very soon see the full recovery and Geulah Hashlema. Amen.
The words of Shlomo Melech in Shir Shirim. Mashcheni, Rebbeinu Shalom, Mashcheni, pull me back to you. Acharecha narutza, and you'll see that we're going to run after you. Just let us back in, Mashcheni, pull. Acharecha narutza. Heviani HaMelech Chadarav, the king right now is bringing us back into his royal chamber. Heviani HaMelech Chadarav, Nagilav Nismach Habach. Let us be filled with tremendous simcha, tremendous gratitude, Nagilav Nismach Habach, and to use this as an opportunity to make all of the tikkunim that we have to make, each person, each place, all of the tikkunim. So the next stop will be very, very soon, really, in the Chadri Chadarim of the Beis HaMikdash, with all of us together, Kulanu, Biyachad.
May we have the zechus of a full recovery and a full redemption.